Elliot from Clayton Homes. Elliot's been gracious enough to come to our Home Builders Action Council meeting that we coordinate with Energy Star, and really just update us on some really exciting stuff that Clayton is doing around decarbonization, electrification, and heat pump water heaters in particular. So, Elliot, thanks so much for being here today, and yeah, I look forward to your presentation.
Great. I appreciate y'all having me and giving me a chance to talk about this awesome program we've been working on. So just to give a little background of Clayton Homes, we are the largest manufactured housing builder in the nation. A big focus of our whole business model and our approach to business in general is affordability. We know that housing crisis in general is through the roof in this nation, and housing has never been more expensive, and it's never been a larger barrier to entry. So with that, we look at not only the initial price of the home, but also at what we call the hidden mortgage, which is that utility bill. So that's one of those guaranteed fees that you're going to have to be paying on every month. A lot of times it's not really kind of considered when you're looking at that mortgage payment, things like that. And what better way to attack that hidden mortgage utility cost than to be Energy Star or Zero Energy rated. So we started on the Energy Star journey back in 2005, building Energy Star rated homes, and that program really kind of continued, and we didn't fully dive in as far as committing our full production to it until more recently, here starting in 2020. I'll actually skip a couple slides ahead and give you all kind of a timeline here. So this is our timeline of our production of Energy Star rated homes, and over time, starting at the beginning, and then you can see that real big jump there in 2020, and then in the last 3-4 years here, it's been a real focus on getting all of our facilities building up to that higher threshold. So Energy Star or Zero Energy program came out last year for manufactured housing. So that was a new program for us. So we had to start working on developing how we were going to build to that standard and meet those minimum requirements. And what we found was that the heat pump water heater was the kingpin that kind of let us pivot to meet those standards and meet the minimum requirements and everything. So flipping into the slide here. So we came up with what we call the eBuilt program. So eBuilt is basically our marketing term, meaning that the home is built to Zero Energy ready standard. So that's kind of how we kind of just wrapped everything up in a bow so we can market it and have things put all our language kind of behind that. We started in January of last year, and by the end of May of 2023, we had all 39 home building facilities certified. That was a huge undertaking to get it done. It was a big push by all of us to get it all there, and then we began full production of it on July 10th. So between July 10 and the end of the year, we built over 15,000 Zero Energy ready homes, and I believe that number now is up to 24,000 that we've built since we got certified, and it's sitting at 96% of our production right now. Part of the one of the things kind of holding us back from going 100% is some markets are very heavily reliant on gas, which has kind of made it more difficult to get certain appliances, things like that in there, and just the nature of some markets are less friendly to those kind of changes, but something we hope to get to 100% over the next few years here. So again, coming back to what the big the way that we were able to accomplish this was that heat pump water heater. It has such a huge impact on the electricity use of the home over the utility uses and everything like that. It significantly reduces the monthly cost for the homeowners. We opted to go with the hybrid heat pump water heater, so that way we found it was a little easier to kind of convince some of the retailers to move over to what they think of as new technology, but it's been around for a while and it's gotten significantly better in the last several years. So I think as much as as we've been trying to roll out this program, we've really been focusing on training and educating the retailers for what this equipment can do and how it can be beneficial for and everything. So common hurdles that we see are just installation issues. The equipment itself is great. we don't get any complaints about that when it's everything's installed and functional. What we kind of find is that the installation is where issues can arise, especially in our environment where it's very production oriented. But that was something that we had to take a very active approach in making sure that everything was done just right, so we get full functionality from our equipment and everything. So for example, keeping the filter area clean of dirt and debris. You can see we've got several different ways we keep the top filter area covered during our production process, trying to keep any debris from getting in there. We build all of our homes indoors. It's a climate controlled environment, but there's still, there's a very active construction environment. So there's lots of dust and debris that could get in there if not covered and protected correctly. We also know that this equipment tends to vibrate a little bit more than your typical water heater appliance. So we had to do some things to kind of mitigate the vibration effects. One of those being the transportation strap. So manufactured housing, these are homes that are going to be shipped down the road, sometimes up to several hundred miles. So typically what you see for securing these water heaters are a metal strap. But if you leave that metal strap connected to a stud in the wall and that heat pump water heater kicks on and that extra vibration gets going, it can cause it to resonate with the studs in the wall, and then you'll get the whole house kind of vibrating and amplifying that noise. So we changed it over to a nylon strap just so it kind of communicates that vibration a little bit less. And then we also use a vibration dampening pad under the appliance itself to help to kind of mitigate that noise. Generally, we get questions a lot on, do the homeowners notice? Do they complain about it, the extra noise, things like that? And really no. So we kind of did a test. The heat pump water heater, it runs about as loud as a refrigerator or a freezer would. And we've redesigned our floor plans to put that heat pump water heater in the same room as the furnace. So it's kind of in that mechanical room area where it's going to be there's going to be noises and equipment running in general. So it just falls into that background area there. So that's my presentation. At this point, I'll open it up to any questions that y'all have.
Great, thanks so much. Elliot, before we get to questions, I do just want to highlight to folks how exciting and incredible what Clayton is doing. The 24,000 that Elliot mentioned that have been installed just in the last under a year, compare that to the entire heat pump water heater market in 2022, which is the last year we have data where we sold 141,000 heat pump water heaters were shipped. So Elliot getting into the game and going full speed into heat pump water heaters is huge, and Clayton. So thanks for that. Really excited. So let's first go to Alyssa's question in the chat. She asked, what makes someone unable to switch from gas? Is it mostly electrical capacity issues on the property in the mobile home park? What for that 4% who hasn't been able to switch yet? What's keeping them from?
Sure. So part of it is older communities that have limited electrical grid capacity. So a lot of those we have to opt for the 15 amp version instead of the 30 of our typical heat pump water heater. So really, and for those situations, they're just trying to limit the amount of appliances that they have to put on their panel box in general. So that can kind of play into it, which again, it's kind of counterintuitive in the sense that they're trying to limit their electrical load, but they're opting for some less efficient equipment. But they've already got gas kind of set up in that community to be able to handle it, things like that. The other thing we've kind of noticed is that in certain regions, gas has been incentivized by the municipalities and regulations. So historically, gas has been significantly cheaper, and certain areas particularly like to use gas a lot more, and they've incentivized it. So there are certain kind of regulations in place that just kind of lend itself to more gas appliances being installed in that area. So it's kind of surprising. It's actually the West Coast is where we are kind of struggling to hit that 100%. But it's a lot of times it just comes down to what the independent retailer is willing to do and that kind of thing. So yeah. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks so much. And Michael Corbett's got his hand up. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. I have a question actually about your ducting setup. Are you pulling interior air and ducting it to the outside of the building, or are you ducting back into the interior space for kind of a balanced ventilation? Can you talk more on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So with our heat pump water heater in the same room as a furnace, we have it's called a POS, positive operating system, but it's basically a duct for fresh air to be pulled into the system to feed the furnace, and the heat pump water heater is going to be feeding off that. But in general, it's going to have louvered doors on that over that mechanical door, so it's going to be pulling fresh air in from the outside as well. And then you can kind of see there in that picture, we're ducting it just straight up through the roof and exhausting it to the outside right now. So it is conditioned cold air. So we are working on a potential way to have that, have a valve to potentially put that cold air back into the home. So in the summer months, you could be getting, a little extra kick of some air conditioning there. But that's, future state. Right now, we're just exhausting it all to the outside of the home.
Got it. So it's also, but your louvered doors facing the pulling from the outside as well.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for explaining that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that in general we've paid a lot of attention to, the ducting there. When we do have field issues, a lot of times what we find is that duct work, they didn't take out the slack in the attic, so you get it kind of bunched up and everything, and so that can kind of cut down on the airflow ability of the appliance. So it can kind of restrict how much air it can push out, and then it can not function as well, things like that. So again, that's where those installation issues are key.
And Elliot, are the on the eBuilt homes, do you have, because you mentioned furnace a couple of times, are there gas furnaces as well? Are there heat pumps paired with heat pump water heaters? How does the makeup usually look for the heating and cooling systems?
Yeah, so we offer gas and electric. It'll just be dependent on the home building facility and their market. We offer heat pump water heaters with both gas and electric homes, so that that'll go into any home regardless of the furnace. Electric furnace homes will require a heat pump, an HVAC heat pump to be installed on site. That's just part of the requirements to get up to that zero energy level. But with the gas furnaces, we don't have to have that outdoor HVAC heat pump. But the hybrid heat pump water heater can go into a home, gas or electric.
And the reason you've chosen to do, almost 100% heat pump water heaters, whereas there's still the option for heat pumps or gas furnaces, is because of the points that you earn in getting the heat pump water heater and getting closer to that zero energy ready home certification.
That's correct. Yeah. So the way the Zero Energy Ready program for the MH side works is there's a point buy. So you add certain energy efficient things to your home, and to get you a certain amount of points, you have to meet a minimum 18 is the minimum essentially to be Zero Energy Ready. So what we found was that once you get the heat pump water heater in there, we were meeting enough of the other things just with our normal product line that was enough to put us over the hump of that minimum point requirement. So once we kind of did the math on, if we can get a heat pump water heater in every single one of these homes, we're basically there at that zero energy level. And then there's a tax rebate incentive for the home builders, that which would be us, that makes it make sense money wise for us to build up to that higher efficiency level. So essentially getting that heat pump water heater at the price point, we made it so that we were able to build all those and pass those savings along to the customer. So we were able to do all this, going up to that zero energy level without raising our prices to the end user, which has been an awesome win for us.
Great. Okay, cool. A question is coming in on how is Clayton Homes sizing the heat pump water heaters? We talk a lot about this in the heat pump water heater world, getting the right size, based on occupants. Are you all staying with a consistent size? Have you had any, thoughts on going to a larger size? What's your thinking on sizing?
Our 40 gallon is the standard, and we pretty much just use that across the board. But we have a 50 gallon upgrade. We don't necessarily size them, but we have it there if the customer would like to upsize it. What we find is generally, the 40 gallons are plenty. With it being the hybrid, the recovery time on it is significant, and it just makes it so that you don't really need to go to that 40 or that 50 gallon in most cases. But just for public perception kind of thing. Some people feel like, you know, they're getting a bigger house and need that 50-gallon. So, you know, we will accommodate that.
That's interesting. And sometimes in the heat pump water heater world, especially when replacing gas, well, this is especially true for the 120 volt heat pump water heaters that don't have the electric resistance backup. They suggest 2 sizes higher. So you see a lot of 65 and 80 gallons. So far, I know it's new to the switch to 100% heat pump water heaters, but are you surveying, you know, customers, or are you finding if, you know, this has been plenty of hot water? You know, what's been the customer feedback on this?
Yeah, absolutely. We've heard really good customer feedback. We actually just a couple weeks ago had an email shared with us from a homeowner who were living in a Clayton home last year, and their January utility bill was about $250. They had moved into a new zero energy home in December, and their January bill was $75. Which was awesome to hear. I mean, and you know, obviously utility things like that can vary wildly with the weather and things like that. But you know, even beyond looking at that, that's a significant savings for our homeowners and everything. So that's been definitely a huge win for us.
Great.
On the service side of things, you know, obviously we still, you know, watch the service side for any kind of issues coming up there. Again, mostly the issues that we see there are on the installation side. So if you get good quality installation in there, you're not going to have any issues.
Fantastic. Okay. Some folks are asking, what is the largest home that 40 gallons heat pump water heaters go into? You know, how many bedrooms and how many occupants, I guess. And then the second part of that question, does Clayton build homes in cold climates, or is it all warmer climates?
So as far as the size of the home, I don't know specific. I mean, we'll build homes triple wides, quadruple wides. We have high end plants that do a lot of custom floor plans. You know, our typical facility, they're building you know, 4 3-bedroom homes, 2 3 baths, that kind of thing. So our 40 gallons kind of just the standard, and then, you know, we have the 50 for an upgrade. So, you know, those higher end facilities that are doing more custom stuff, that's where you're going to get more you know, the customer that's wanting to, you know, upsize to the 50 gallon, things like that. So.
Okay, great. And are you are you all installing mixing valves at all to set the temperatures higher, or just a standard without a mixing valve?
No, just a standard hybrid heat water heater installation.
Okay. Can we? Okay, yeah. So somebody's asking for your email address.
Yeah, I can put that in the chat here.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Great. I think the rest is just conversation. I don't see any other questions. So thanks, Elliot. I really appreciate you coming on. Huge thanks to Clayton for really leading in the switch to, you know, nearly 100% heat pump water heaters. And we'll be curious to hear, you know, continued feedback as you all, you know, continue to install thousands and tens of thousands of heat pump water heaters on, you know, how things are going. So
absolutely,
would love to have you on in the future. So thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.